when we got pregnant with the first kiddo, there was, I can't even explain it, a fervor that you did not know that you had.
Oh, this is an accelerant. It kind of forces you to build systems and scale your time leverage and set boundaries, and also say low to no value busyness. Before having kids, it was like, oh, not until you're ready, which is the illusion of life. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never be ready. With kids, it's like, okay, obviously I want to create the life for them. I want to be present with them. You have such an intrinsic motivator then from that. I want to show them that they're worth going after their dreams. Society's script is usually to wait until business is big enough, that money is safe enough, and that freedom is maximized. But we as entrepreneurs, we want to create a life that we build around our business versus building business to serve a life. So it's interesting that as we're about to get married, we're actually exactly a month from the day that we're recording this, I've heard some people say, if you want to make more money, get married, have kids, which is so disruptive to what I grew up with.
I completely agree with that, actually. In college, I was really bad at it at first. Then I left for 4 years. I learned how to learn. I came back and I almost got straight A's all college after that. And what was funny is I started learning all this internet marketing stuff in the middle of school. And like, I had to be very mindful of my time. And what's funny is I started noticing that even when I started working for somebody else, I would have 2 to 3 hours a day to build my own business. That's it. And because there's only 2 to 3 hours a day, turn off Netflix, say no to stuff, not go to some party or something, and I just would focus. And only having 2 or 3 hours, funny enough, when I actually left my job and now I had all my free time, there were times where I was like, I felt like I was moving faster when I had 3 hours a day. And I think it's just because of how intentional I had to be with the time. I was planning it just a little bit more. There was a phase, it was about 6 months, almost a year even, where I was hustling hard, getting a lot done. It was great. But there was a chunk of my career right at the beginning where I felt like because there was no more time constraint, there was a lack of foreplanning. And I was just like, I'll just figure it out I'll figure it out tomorrow when I sit down. But when I only had 2 to 3 hours, I was constantly on my brain. Funny enough, I actually feel like I got more done in a short amount of time. It's like I was getting an 8-hour amount of work done in 3 hours because I only had 3 hours. And so when you go and you introduce a family and other responsibilities, when we got pregnant with the first kiddo, there was, I can't even explain it, but every dude I've ever talked to who's like, oh my gosh, we're having a kid. It's like you watch this stand up happen and it's like, a fervor that you did not know that you had. And it's like, what? I thought I was already pushing hard. Boom. Yeah. It just comes out. Like, I completely agree with that.
It kind of forces you to build systems and scale your time leverage and set boundaries, and also say low to no value busyness. I like that you said the 2-hour block can become more than what you did in 8 hours. It makes me think of how you also say like the sleep that you get before midnight is like worth so much more. And I heard another piece of advice from a momtrepreneur, a mama. She was saying, if I ever go to a coffee shop with my laptop, I don't bring the charger, because it also forces us, like, I have to get stuff done before the computer dies, before the clock times out. And I'm fast action bonus mom. I don't have my own biological kids, but these girls, I've claimed them, they are mine.
Yeah.
And before having kids, I totally thought that it was like, oh, not until you're ready, which is the illusion of life. It's like, if you wait until you're ready, you'll never be ready, and saw it as something that would hold you back or restrict you. And it wasn't until obviously being in the experience that I was like, oh, this is an accelerant.
Yeah.
This is absolutely an accelerant to have a family that you have to choose to prioritize, because otherwise you're still, running in the hamster wheel and not getting anywhere. But with kids, it's like, okay, obviously I want to create the life for them. I want to be present with them. You have such an intrinsic motivator then from that. But then there's also I want to be the example for them. I want to show them that they're worth going after their dreams. I saw this meme once that was like, the moms that eat last or eat standing over the sink because they're trying to put their kids first. You are subconsciously teaching your children that one day they too should put themselves last.
Yeah. Poof. I totally, completely agree with that. I remember the first time we were like, oh my gosh, we're having a kid. I I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm going to have to sacrifice and sacrifice. And there is absolutely sacrifice involved. But I actually have realized over the years, the oldest is 11 now, and over the last 11 years, it's like I have reframed it to the shorter window of time is not sacrifice. All it does is shine a light on low leverage tasks. Things that don't really pay off in the long run. I'm going to stop watching so much TV. What do you actually want in life? And you're still in control. Nothing is taking you. And I'm not harping on any parents, all right, but at all, or people who are afraid to be a parent. But it's interesting to notice that if you just look at it differently, what happens when you have a family and responsibilities that are outside of yourself is it makes you show up at work more present. It makes you show up where, with the kids more present. It makes you show up. I find I'm more present because otherwise there's just not enough time. You have to squeeze more experiences out of a smaller amount of time in the day rather than just carte blanche all the time. And it just feels like I was drifting after a while. That's not why we had kids, but it absolutely is part of what I've noticed with it. So it's not a sacrifice. It is a pruner.
It forces a ruthless prioritization. And I think your business is going to grow more when you stop treating the business like your baby and you start treating it as the vehicle to fund and protect your actual family.
Yeah. You show up different.
You build your stakes, you raise your standards, and it really makes the why non-negotiable.
I also think what's cool too, though, is to have kids look at you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're on stage all the time. It's like, look what they're doing. Just like you're saying, like, look what they're doing. Look what they're going after. Look, and it's neat to see like them start to get it. Like, oh, what? That's what you guys do?
I can do that too.
Wow, you guys. And our approach towards a problem that shows up, there's no problems. There's just things to solve, right? But you see that same pattern pop up to like, someone was mean to me on the playground. And instead of like rushing in to shepherd him, it's like, let's help you, relate with that. You see a problem. What solutions do you see you could go after? And driving around to school a lot, I'll do that stuff with them when I'm like, I'm scared for this test. Really? And I'm not trying to rush in with the answer. I'm trying to guide them. You're a coach. And then I think it makes it easier to coach yourself throughout your day because you do have less time. It's just more practice. It is it's the best university. A family is.
That's a good way of putting it because marriage is a mirror. Kids become a mirror. They pick up on, you hear them repeat the things you say. Where'd you learn that? Oh, from me.
Yeah. No, so I don't agree. Although for the first couple of years, it definitely felt hard. I had to learn a new me. So growth isn't always fun. And, snipping out, certain things that are distractions or whatever, that definitely, it's funny. We do the same thing in entrepreneurship, but the same thing whenever you have like a lack of time. I can't because I don't have time, or I can't because that's like jumping out of a plane and I don't have a parachute built yet. The ground never comes. And that's the mirage. That's the facade. It's the storyteller. If this happens, that will happen. We get really married to these if-then statements, and our brains have a hard time handling things that aren't like finite. And it's like, you're actually making up another boogeyman.
I think it's a story people tell themselves if they're afraid of accountability.
Sure.
Because it's so easy to say, well, I'm not going to have kids. I'm not going to settle down because it serves them to continue being addicted to that chaos.
That makes sense. I used to think that because of having kids, like, oh, we can't go do that trip or we can't do certain business things. But kind of back to, again, you go back to like rural times, we're all on the farms. You brought the kid with you to the field, right? Bring them,
yeah.
And
the girls are in the office right now.
They're right over there right now.
They were playing on the stage earlier today.
They've been watching us work all day. It's like, bring them. And obviously there's phases where that's harder. But,
sure.
Bring them to the field. Bring them to your field, whatever that is, whenever that makes sense.
I think it gives that, we talked about having the strong why, and you're building something now bigger than you when you bring the family into it. Like how cool that, we have kids in sports and gymnastics and dreaming of being an Olympic gold medalist, Simone Biles gymnast. And I hope that she's going after her dreams so ruthlessly because she sees what we do.
Being a fast action bonus mom while also having a business when you came in, what was the hardest transition piece?
giving myself permission to take on that role. Because there's this weird, like, I'm dad's girlfriend and I'm wanting to be a mother figure, but also I feel like it has to be a mutual decision. Like, I'm not trying to impose on this family dynamic that already exists.
Call me mom.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
And it's like the tiptoeing into the relationship. And because they're young, which I also think was a huge benefit.
Yeah.
So lucky and grateful that our youngest will not know much of life without me. So I think it was, the permission to be like, they're his kids, but I love, am I allowed to love them? And can I be a mother figure to them? And how far can I go? And like respect to their biological mom. And it was this weird trapeze artist kind of dance of figuring out the phases of like really being a mother.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like, when was the like all in moment of not worrying that? It's like the things that you don't realize that you're thinking about until one day they're gone. You don't remember the last time you were thinking about it. But yeah, I was just trying to find my place in a family dynamic that existed already. And of course, when there's a backdrop of a divorce, like having to just be cautious of that for the girls' feelings. But I'm really also proud of how we handled all that we were so slow in introducing me to the girls, to the point where it was almost like, from their perspective, they feel like it was their idea to bring me into the relationship.
Yeah.
Like we met around other families. We became friends with the kids before you introduced me as girlfriend. And at that point, they were like, bring Marley over, So it was comfortable, but also a tiptoeing.
What about like from a business perspective? How did that change your work life while also now being a mom?
I have this joke that I get to be a great mom 50% of the time. What I mean is I can be 100% mom 50% of the time because of, we have them week on, week off. It was actually, I think, a blessing to have that the weeks that we have them, I can be like all in and we can have good balance. Of course, we still work. It's not like we don't work on those weeks, but I can prioritize. And then the weeks that we don't have them, maybe we'll work later or there's more outings or things that we don't have to get a babysitter things for. I think that as a fast action bonus mom, there is probably still more of like a part of me that's like, I'm not their mom. So as a result, I want to over deliver. That seems like a weird word to use because we use it in business all the time. But like, I want to show up so much for them and all in for them so they know how much I love them as a mother figure and that I do choose them every day. And it's not just because I love you and they're just the byproducts as a result that I am like, I am marrying you, but I am also choosing them. And I want them to know that I will always choose them and go out of my way for them as if they were my children.
Yeah.
So there's part of that feels like with business and being a stepmom, which is funny. Someone apologized for calling me that the other day. I was like, well, it's because I am. That is my role. But you hear all these stepmom stigmas and stories, and thanks, Walt Disney. Every stepmother
Every
was
stepmom
evil.
at Disney's bad. It's like, come on.
Yeah. And I think that hopefully that's never crossed their mind, that there's no like animosity or no comparison between mom and stepmom and this stepmom is evil and I don't get this. So I think there's part of me that just like, because that's a weird storyline that plays out in society, I want them to know that I see them as my children, not my stepchildren.
They do. But I think what is cool to notice, and it's something that I've noticed as well, is that you can be a parent, a biological parent, and still not consciously choose your kids. So it's funny that you say that, because it's like it's what the thing that you've been doing, and the conscious choice you've made. It's no different for an actual biological parent either. You still have to choose the kid, and sure that there's many people who did not feel that way, or the mom or dad who was working, didn't ever totally choose. You know what I mean? So I think it actually shines a light on a skill that is not just sequestered to someone who's in a step or fast action parent role. It's something that the biological parents still have to do and don't always do. So I think it's actually a strength, compared to well, these kids have always been here, so it's how it's always been. It's like, well, it could also be ho-hum and never connect with them and never, and in the midst of building a business, I think that's the weird part for me is like, I also go through that same thing where I'm like, I'm working in the office, and then I can hear them playing out there and I'm like, God, but I need them to know that I'm here and present as well. And so I'll have this like dual mentality that happens sometimes where I've had to practice like, okay, this is the block off time mentally and I'm focusing and I'm here and I'm now in this business work. This is the best work and it is for them and it is for the family. But then there can be that moment where you're like, let me just do one more project and I'll just go do it. We'll connect later. It's like every parent has to do that,
And there's also the tug of war, the mental tug of war of when I'm working, I want to be with them. And when I'm them, I feel bad about the work that I have to do. And once this is done, then I can be fully present.
Yeah.
Everyone experiences that.
But I think it's one of the reasons why having a family while building a business is so strong is because it makes your choices stronger. Choices aren't created equally, right? You have to choose harder. You choose deeper with more intent. And I think it's the beauty of having a family and a business at the same time and not waiting. Having
the strong, non-negotiable family containers so that you're forced to be efficient.
Yeah.
Like when we know, like we're going on vacation this week, which is, oh my gosh, we had our first real family. Like we've had trips and stuff, but like this was like a family vacation. Oh, the joy. I reminisce about it all the time. I lived in anticipation of it leading all the way up to it. I think I want to book a family vacation a whole year out so that I can just keep living in anticipation of it because that is such a fun feeling.
Yeah.
And then to have that, I mean, if that's one example of a family vacation, but what about the date nights and the birthday parties and the things like that we get to plan and we get to dream up and celebrate and have that as, again, the container that forces you to be fit. I love what you talked about, like the 2 hours, the window that you have to plan ahead for. And that totally was a mirror to me that I was like, oh, I need to do that. I need to do better at that. It's funny because that 2 hour or 3 hour thing, it reminds me of, I was reflecting back on like, oh, wow, how did we get here? We built some cool stuff already, and as I look back over the last 11, 12 years of being in business now, anytime there was a constraint, I have the option to choose for it to be something that disqualifies me or the option for me to choose and recognize that it's actually what will qualify me. Because if we were already qualified, we would have the things that we already want. So I'm like, it's so funny because, and people will say, and I've said this, I mean, we've all said it, human experience says this, like I'm not ready to go do that thing because I can't, because of this. But funny enough, that block is actually what is going to grow you. Yeah. We have to say yes to it first. Otherwise, it's your oppressor and you're a victim. But as soon as you switch it and go like, I don't have a lot of time. Okay, well, how could I create time? Oh, there we go. I don't have any money. It's like, all right, well, if I was being entrepreneurial and I solved problems, what could I go do? And those constraints are what actually qualify you and prepare you for the next level. And I think that's just a true general principle. Just in general, it's like our environments grow faster than we do. But if we can say yes to the existing environment and constraints with like a conscious yes and not a passive, because you can just row the boat, not even row, just drift, So, oh man, I don't have enough money or I don't have enough time or I don't have enough, support from my relationships or spouse or family or whatever. It funny enough, it will become the thing that actually is the springboard to the next level. I think a ton of businesses and success stories were created from constraints. I only had this many hours in a day, so I created this efficient system. Or I was sick, and it forced me to be able to create this result. I can think of so many entrepreneurs that they had this life-changing plot twist in their life that forced them to create something. Like when you're backed into a corner, you get really creative. Yeah. Not that it has to be always painful, but... Best creations have come in constraint for me. Yeah. Talking about constraints, one of my first dollars online came from affiliate marketing. I didn't have a product that was working, so I figured I might as well go sell somebody else's. And then I actually, after a while, ended up collecting 7 figures in affiliate commissions. Woo! It was nuts. And affiliate marketing ended up being the thing for me, what gave me the cash flow to go start hiring people and start, build business infrastructure and such, and not get a loan. All right. So we actually created a free program that's 7 days called Make Affiliates Great Again. Cheeky name, I love it. MakeAffiliatesGreatAgain.com. I'll put the link down
down below. But what it'll do is it'll walk you through my entire system that I use, traffic, funnel, how I choose the affiliate product, how I create a customer, make affiliates great again.com. It's free, and I would love to have you there.